Yeah, so we're used to having Theresa Quick join us, and usually well, we know she's a shopaholic, so we always have her on as one of our fashion stylists, bringing us some great examples, especially with shoes. But I was reading through the notes, I'm like, Theresa's on, and then I realized it is a completely different story. We are calling you a breast cancer previvor.
That's right.
So I'm going to let you go from there because this story is fascinating.
Well, the previvor is a new term that they've coined basically for women that carry the genetic marker for breast cancer or ovarian cancer. So there are several. In my case, it's BCRA1. So in November, I had a double mastectomy, preventative double mastectomy, to reduce my chances of cancer down to 3% from. It was looking upwards of 75 to 100% in my case.
There is a huge family history, and so this was a personal decision that took a lot of reflection, but looking at your family history, which I want you to explain, it was an overwhelming decision to say this is what I needed to do.
Well, absolutely. I mean, breast cancer has always been a huge part of our family. Both my maternal and paternal grandmothers both died very, very young of breast cancer. And then if you go up the family tree, it also starts looking like a Christmas tree. There are so many breast cancer cases in there. It was kind of a rite of passage for most of the women. I can't even think right now offhand of any women that haven't actually gone through this process. My mother had breast cancer at 34, and she survived that, but she got ovarian cancer at 45, and then she died at 52, which is the other. The genes are connected with both breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So, so basically my mom got genetically tested. Because there was such a strong family history, we had a really good argument that there was a mutation of some kind happening in the family. And so my sister and I opened up the envelope about a year ago and found out that she was positive, and in that case my sister and I were able to go in. We both had a 50-50 chance of testing positive for the gene. The interesting thing about the breast cancer gene is once you become negative, you don't pass it on anymore. So it stops. So every generation has a, someone hits positive, my children will have a 50-50 chance. If one of them tests negative, then that's the end of the line. It'll stop right there, which is great. So when you have this gene, the population overall for breast cancer, it's a very small percentage of the population for breast cancer is genetic. So majority are just average women that have an average history. I had to look at what the odds were, and in my case, it was between 40 and 60% statistically, plus looking at the family history. Every woman that had been tested positive for the gene had gotten breast cancer. So I had to look, do I want to continue doing intensive screening, because I was going in 3 times a year for screening, or do I want to do something that's more proactive and actually go that step and get my breast completely removed.
So this is something that you have just underwent. You're
Mid-November.
So this is still pretty fresh. We actually have a couple of pictures that we want to show, and you've been very bold and very brave to be able to show. So this was what shot? This was a before.
This was a before. Before I went in for the surgery. The thing with reconstruction that a lot of people don't realize, it's not like a regular boob job. You don't go in and there you can see the after and you can see the scars underneath. And they were able to really do an amazing job. I'm so thankful to my surgeons to really reduce the amount of scarring that I had to deal with.
Now this is something, because I asked, the cost associated, and I want to hit on this because
Absolutely.
This was something that was covered.
Yes.
And then you have people saying, you had the negative response.
Oh, there was always a negative response.
Why are taxpayers paying for something like this? And your answer is really, you step back and you think, my goodness, it makes sense.
Well, on a purely monetary level, the cost of one cancer patient in Canada is astounding. I don't think people stop and think about the cost of screening, cancer drugs, surgery, hospital stays, hospital visits, if they have to go EI off work, their spouses have to go off work, their kids have to go off school, if they end up being in a hospice, and then if they end up passing away, there are a lot of financial obligations on the government for that. So on a strictly monetary basis, it is astounding. It's fractional compared to the cost of actually going through cancer. And they don't just give mastectomies to everybody. You don't just go in and go, I'd really like some replacements here. Can you go ahead? You have to be a candidate. You have to test positive for the gene. So there's got to be a very high chance of you developing breast cancer or ovarian cancer. So it's not frivolous. It's not something you go in, and it's certainly not something any woman would ever take lightly.
Nor a young woman who has yet to have children and who still has a lot of life experiences ahead of them, and this is something too that you've decided likely that once you hopefully have your children, that the ovaries will be the next
Absolutely.
next thing. So,
looking back at my mom, I know she would have done it in a heartbeat to be able to see us grow up. So.
I'm sure she's incredibly proud of you being so proactive and being a Previvor. So thanks for sharing this information. I think a lot of women right now are kind of taking a step back and thinking into their family history. Theresa, we'll have you on next time talking shoes or shopping.
I was going to say, and if everyone has any questions, I've got a lot of people going with small questions. They can tweet me at TEQuick, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
Okay, always a pleasure, Theresa. We're going to take a break. We're going to be heading back to Sarah Freemark. She's shopping today in Carleton Place with Bonnie and Company. We'll join up with her after this.